So, what happens when you combine incredible AoE and single target damage into one class? You get the Wizard. Helios Quintatum! Hey everyone, this is the Wizard Guide for Season 1. First, a couple of quick notes about this guide itself. This guide is up to date for the launch of the game, so you can be sure that you're prepared for Diablo Immortal launch. You can find the written version of this guide at immortal.maxroll.gg. Lexiu is the author of the written guide, so all the recommendations in this guide are his. We'll keep you up to date as we discover new information about the game before and after launch. A new version of this video guide will be posted for Season 2, so make sure that you're subscribed for that. This guide is separated by chapters, so look below and click ahead to the part that you need. Now, put on your wizard hat and robe, and let's get started. Wizards are the pure spellcaster class, wielding elemental magic with high area of effect and crowd control to stop their enemies. This class is for strategic players that enjoy spell combos, control over opponents, skill shots, and devastating damage. This is your guide for learning how to become the greatest wizard in the world. First of all, let's take a look at our strengths. Wizards can be played with ranged spells to deal damage from afar safely, or Battlemage style up close and personal. Their iconic movement skill, Teleport, is used to instantly reposition during combat or traverse long distances. Black Hole groups hordes of enemies together so they can all be hit with the wizard's arsenal of AoE spells. Skill synergies also increase the wizard's capabilities. For example, Hungering Wind, which is the enhanced version of Arcane Wind, when cast on burning ground, creates a Firestorm that does 50% more damage than normal. Combo Ice Crystal by reflecting Ray of Frost and Disintegrate Beams to every enemy nearby, increasing coverage and range. In PvP, Wizards are a flexible class with different playstyles and skill options. Control builds can turn the tides of a battlefield for victory. They have an arsenal of CC skills that stun, freeze, chill, and knockback. Long duration AoE skills like Meteor Shower, Meteor, and Hungering Wind, Arcane Wind, are used to zone opponents off objectives. Battlemage style builds can also be used to rack up the kill count if you prefer to get aggressive. Now, Flaming Orb, Scorch, and Ice Storm, Ice Armor, can be pre-casted before teleporting on your opponent with Rift Dancer's Stride to deal insane burst damage. Your opponents won't even know what killed them. Now, Wizard also has some weaknesses. Wizard skills tend to have long cooldowns. Strategic use of these cooldowns is important, especially for skills that benefit from being used together in combination. This is an intelligence-based class, so you need to play accordingly. Additionally, Wizards lack group buffs. The only benefit they can give teammates is a 10% extra damage buff from Disintegrate. Not only that, but their Scroll of Westmarch class consumable is fairly worthless, while other class consumables usually provide helpful buffs to teammates. Now, in PvP, Wizards are quite squishy, and they do rely on hit and run tactics with Teleport to survive. The majority of their spells are skill shots, requiring precise aim. Poor aim, or execution, resulting in a missed attack can easily get you killed. You need to react quickly and accurately in battles to be a great wizard. What to expect as a wizard? Strengths: tons of AoE and CC, satisfying skill synergies, rewards tactical play in PvP, fights at range or close up, good movement skills. As for weaknesses, they have long skill cooldowns, relying on skill combos, requires skill shot aim, takes significant damage, and lacks group buffs. Now let's get into leveling up your wizard. Leveling up your wizard on the right foot is key in order to make your character as powerful as possible. First, find better equipment for your character. Your bag flashes when you pick up better equipment. Turn on auto pickup for all item types and settings, and periodically return to town to salvage and upgrade your items. Combo Arcane Wind after Scorch at level 1. Burn enemies with Scorch first, so Arcane Wind does 50% more damage. Make sure you claim the Battle Pass legendary item. Earning battle points unlocks special rewards, including an early legendary item that will increase your character's power. Choose wisely. Hunt legendary items. Keep a special eye out for the Siphon, Unrepentant Gale, and Wind Shaper. Find normal and legendary gems. Hidden Layers have a chance to drop normal gems, and if you use a crest, Elder Rifts have a chance to drop legendary gems. Unlock the Heliquary at level 41. Unlock the Heliquary as soon as you can, so you can always receive Scoria from your daily activity rewards. Oh, what's that? Oh yeah, I was just researching wizard builds. Let's get into those, shall we? First up, we have our solo and group build, Firestorm Battlemage. Maximizing movement speed is a priority for speed builds. Now for Wizard, this means using Teleport and Lightning Nova with the Siphon. Use these skills to jump between mob packs and traverse areas faster. Teleport gains damage from both Rift Dancer's Stride and Liant's Resonant Wisdom, allowing you to jump on enemies offensively. Meteor and Arcane Wind are used together for Firestorm synergy. For our skills, Magic Missile. This is our primary attack. The extra single target damage is needed for bosses and any remaining enemies surviving your AoE spells. Try to stand next to the enemy with the highest health in a group, so your missiles will always hit it. Meteor, a staple wizard skill due to its powerful AoE impact and moderate cooldown. Learn to aim and time the delay while dragging enemies. Arcane Wind. Hungering Wind deals the most total damage over time. Cast it on the burning ground left by Meteor to create a firestorm, dealing 50% more damage. Teleport, the wizard's strongest movement skill that can jump over obstacles. Teleport on top of enemies to engage and instantly deal high damage. Manage your charges well, using one to engage enemies and the rest to move between packs. Lightning Nova. This is a dual-purpose skill with a low cooldown, used for both quick damage in combat and movement speed while traversing. Cast this on top of enemies for more hits. Now let's look at our legendary items. For our head slot, we have Lion's Resonant Wisdom. Teleport now conjures a lightning cloud at your destination, dealing damage to all nearby enemies over 2.5 seconds. For shoulders, we have Shoulders of the Cataclysm. Meteor damage increased by 10%. For main hand, we have Wind Shaper. Arcane Wind now summons a tornado that follows enemies and continually damages all enemies in its path. For our chest slot, we have Starcaller's Drapery. Meteor radius increased by 20%. For our legs, Rift Dancer's Stride. Teleport now targets a location where it also damages all nearby enemies. For our offhand, the Siphon. Casting Lightning Nova temporarily increases your movement speed by 20%. For our gameplay, speed farming builds are made to move fast and destroy groups of enemies quickly. Battlemage playstyle involves using Teleport offensively to jump right on top of your enemies and fighting at close range. First, teleport on your enemies to engage and deal damage. Don't use this excessively. Save some of your charges for faster travel. Lightning Nova is your shortest cooldown at 6 seconds. Use it frequently for both damage and for faster movement. Cast this after teleporting on top of enemies to maximize hits. After that, you want to drop your Meteor followed by Arcane Wind on the burning ground to create a Firestorm. This is your most damaging skill combination. Even though this is a Battlemage build, you can still use these skills at range if needed. Magic Missile has a decent single target damage. Spam it to finish off stragglers and high health enemies. Now let's look at our Challenge Rift build, Black Hole Firestorm. Prioritize grouping enemies up and dealing AoE damage. Now we're in luck. Wizard has one of the best grouping abilities in the game, Black Hole. Similar to the Firestorm Battlemage build, Meteor and Arcane Wind are used together for Firestorm synergy. For our skills, our primary attack is Magic Missile. The extra single target damage is needed for Rift Guardians. Black Hole. This is an amazing AoE skill that groups and crowd controls enemies. Meteor. This is a staple wizard skill due to its powerful AoE impact and moderate cooldown. Learn to aim and time the delay while dragging enemies. Arcane Wind. Hungering Wind deals the most total damage over time of any of the abilities in this build. Cast it on the burning ground left by Meteor to create a Firestorm, dealing 50% more damage. Teleport. The wizard's strongest movement skill that can jump over obstacles. Manage your charges well, using some to move quickly, but always save one in case you get stuck. Now let's look at our legendary items. For our head slot, we have Cowl of the Abyss. Black Hole radius increased by 20%. For shoulders, Shoulders of the Cataclysm. Meteor damage increased by 10%. Our main hand is Wind Shaper. Arcane Wind now summons a tornado that follows enemies and continually damages all enemies in its path. Our chest slot is Starcaller's Drapery. Meteor radius increased by 20%. For legs, we have Galebringer's Leggings. Increases Arcane Wind damage by 10%. For our offhand, Unrepentant Gale. Maximum Arcane Wind charges increased by 1. Now let's take a look at our gameplay. In high-level challenge rifts, enemies need to be dragged in groups and killed together with massive AoE skills. Keep moving forward while dragging enemies. Save teleport in case you get stuck on enemies or terrain. When you have a sizable group of enemies, cast Black Hole to suck them all up. Follow up with Meteor and additional CC and damage. Finally, cast 2 Hungering Winds on the burning ground. Keep dragging enemies until your black hole cooldown is ready again. On the Rift Guardian, use all of your skills. Be sure to spam Magic Missile when your other skills are on cooldown for extra single target damage. Next up, we have the first of 2 of our PvP builds for the Wizard, Chill Control. This PvP build is designed to control opponents and objectives as a support role for your team. It's played safely at a distance, ideally behind your teammates. Practice is needed to perfect this build, as your skills required precise aiming and timing. You'll become a valuable asset to your team, turning the tides of battle. First for our skills, we have Magic Missile. This is our primary attack. It's extra single target damage that can be spammed while other skills are crowd controlling opponents. Black Hole, an amazing AoE skill that groups and crowd controls enemies. Meteor, an icy meteor lands faster and applies a crippling chill. Use this after Black Hole to make a guaranteed hit, granted you aim it correctly. Teleport, the Wizard's strongest movement skill that can jump over obstacles. Save teleport charges to create distance from advancing opponents. Ray of Frost, another massive crippling chill. Now let's look at our legendary items. For our head slot, we have Cowl of the Abyss. Black hole radius increased by 20%. For shoulders, Shoulders of the Cataclysm. Meteor damage increased by 10%. Our main hand is Force of Harakas. Increased magic missile damage by 10%. Our chest slot is Kyne's Cryomantle. Ray of Frost now unleashes a stronger and instantaneous beam after a short delay, damaging and freezing all enemies in its path. Our leg slot is Frostwalker's Meteor. This now summons an icy meteor, dealing damage and covering the area with icy ground that deals additional damage and chills enemies. For our offhand, use any legendary that you'd like. Now for our gameplay. Chill Control playstyle involves strategic use of crowd control skills. Make sure to save teleport charges to get away from advancing enemies. Use Black Hole first, as it's your easiest skill to land on opponents. Land Meteor before Black Hole ends, followed by Ray of Frost. Play with your teammates and wait for them if necessary. You're most effective supporting a group. Now let's look at our second PvP build for the Wizard, Battlemage. This is our most aggressive Wizard build in PvP, designed to rack up the kill count. It focuses on jumping into melee range and dealing damage up close. Multiple knockbacks are chained together to lock opponents down, while damaging skills rapidly hit all at once. Your damage can melt opponents instantly, but you're also pretty squishy. Fast reactions are needed. For our skills, we have our primary attack, Magic Missile. The extra single target damage is spammed while your other skills are passively dealing damage. Scorch. All 4 flaming orbs from Memory of Xiaoyu, did I say that right? Cause knockback when combined with Angmar's Repulsive Burden. This is important because knockback is the most powerful crowd control mechanic in PvP. Learn to move around opponents to hit them with the flaming orbs. Ice Armor. This becomes Ice Storm with Winter's Eye for passive damage that can be pre-casted before engagements. It also chills nearby opponents. Teleport. This is the Wizard's strongest movement skill that can jump over obstacles. Teleport on top of opponents to engage and instantly deal high damage. Manage your charges well, allowing them to recharge before jumping into battle. Lightning Nova. This skill can be pre-casted before teleporting on top of opponents. Your balls will hit them as they follow you to the new location. Legendary items. For our head slot, we have Memory of Xiaoyu. Scorch now conjures 4 flaming orbs that orbit around you and explode when they strike enemies, damaging and burning all nearby enemies. For our shoulder slot, we have Angmar's Repulsive Burden. Scorch will now knock enemies away. For our main hand, we have Force of Harakas. Increases magic missile damage by 10%. For our chest slot, we have Regalia of the Archmage. Lightning Nova now hurls balls of immobilizing arcane energy. For our leg slot, we have Rift Dancer's Stride. Teleport now targets a location where it also damages all nearby enemies. Our offhand is finally Winter's Eye. Ice Armor no longer absorbs damage, instead conjuring an ice storm around you that continually damages and chills nearby enemies. Now, Battlemage gameplay involves using teleport offensively to jump on top of your opponents while quickly firing off all of your skills. First, you want to make sure you have 3 teleport charges before fighting. Precast Scorch, Ice Armor, and Lightning Nova when it's time to engage. These skills will deal damage passively while you're in combat. Learn to use good situational awareness to gauge the proper time to jump in. Teleport on top of opponents to engage and deal damage. Don't use this excessively. Save some charges for chasing or disengaging. Stay on top of your opponents to allow your passive damage to hit while casting magic missiles. Legendary gems like Howler's Call and Lightning Core can proc off your magic missiles for extra damage. Flaming orbs can be casted again after the first 4 knockbacks are used. Use additional teleports if they get away from you to chase. Now let's talk about our set items. Now, most of the set items in the game are very good for Wizard, but Wenloft Perfection is one of the best sets for Wizard because of the valuable movement speed and raw percentage damage it adds to all of our abilities. Since Wizard excels in both AoE and single target damage, this lets you mix and match your skills as you see fit. The extra speed will also make you faster in solo and group builds, have lower downtime in challenge rifts, and will make you that much more difficult to catch in PvP situations. For our 3 items equipped, movement speed increased by 10%. For 6 items equipped, for every 5% increase to movement speed, you deal 1% increased damage, up to a maximum damage increase of 14%. Now let's take a look at our Wizard starter legendary gems. Start your build with these easy to obtain 1 and 2 star legendary gems. Everlasting Torment. This deals incredible damage over time after a critical hit. For a simple 1-star legendary gem, this packs an amazing punch. Fervent Fang does fantastic single target damage. It can easily be acquired from the battle pass without relying on luck from crests. Berserker's Eye provides increased damage in all cases if you're willing to take more damage. Lightning Core does direct damage to an enemy group, often wiping them out in the process. Salad's Weakening gives a frequent damage boost anytime you kill elites, making it useful in fast-paced content. Chain Death gives a solid damage boost that synergizes well with the Wizard's AoE skills. Now let's look at our best in slot legendary gems. Legendary gems provide incredible stat bonuses and unique effects. They're found as a reward after completing an Elder Rift that's enhanced with the legendary crest. Many of them are also crafted using runes and platinum at the jeweler in Westmarch. Bloodsoaked Jade is the best legendary gem in the game. It provides massive damage and movement speed. Seeping Bile has a poison that is devastating in large densities, such as in Elder and Challenge Rifts. The poison will trigger again and again with your powerful AoE attacks. Chip of Stoned Flesh has a chance to petrify a target and gives a damage boost on top of it. Petrifying enemies can keep you alive in a challenge rift or secure a kill in PvP, making this an incredible choice. Howler's Call adds a damage proc that complements magic missile spam. This gives you an important source of ranged DPS on top of everything else that you already do. Blessing of the Worthy is especially useful for the melee range playstyle of many Battlemage builds. Any damage taken can activate devastating damage every 15 seconds, obliterating anything nearby. Frozen Heart provides great damage reduction versus ranged enemies. It's hard to beat percentage-based damage reduction. Now let's take a look at every skill available for the Wizard. This section is for your reference, so you can make your own builds. Electrocute. This is a primary attack. Arc Lightning from your fingertips, dealing damage to the first enemy struck, and then leaping to 3 additional enemies for 30% as much damage. Its ultimate is full power. Enhance Electrocute for 12 seconds, increasing damage per hit, allowing movement while attacking, and increasing the number of secondary targets. Magic Missile. Launch a missile of magic energy, dealing damage. Its ultimate is Ice Missile. Enhance Magic Missile with Frost for 12 seconds, increasing its damage per hit and slowing the movement of affected enemies. Arcane Torrent. Channel a barrage of arcane projectiles, each dealing damage to all enemies in an area. Using Arcane Torrent slowly consumes its energy, which recovers while Arcane Torrent is not in use. Arcane Wind. Unleash a blast of wind in a direction, dealing damage and knocking away enemies. Charging longer increases range, knock away distance, and damage. Deals 50% increased damage to burning enemies. Black Hole. Conjure a black hole for 3 seconds at a location, which will pull in all nearby enemies and deal damage over 3 seconds. Disintegrate. Channel a beam of pure energy in a direction, continually dealing damage to all enemies caught in the beam and causing them to take 2% increased damage for 1.5 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Using Disintegrate slowly consumes its energy, which recovers while Disintegrate is not in use. Ice Armor. Surround yourself in a barrier of ice for 8 seconds that absorbs damage. When the barrier expires, it will shatter for damage to all nearby enemies and inflict 40% chill for 6 seconds. Activate again to shatter the barrier immediately. Ice Crystal. Conjure a giant ice crystal at a nearby location, where it will deal damage to all nearby enemies over 12 seconds and inflict 30% chill. When the crystal expires, it will shatter for damage to all nearby enemies and inflict 80% chill for 6 seconds. Activate again to shatter the crystal immediately. Beams of energy striking the crystal will be refracted and strike multiple enemies. Lightning Nova. Hurl 10 balls of lightning away from you in all directions, dealing damage as they pass outward and again as they return to your new location. Limit 6 hits per target. Hits 2 and beyond on the target deal only 30% as much damage. Meteor. Summon an immense meteor that plummets from the sky, dealing damage and stunning all enemies in the impact area for 3 seconds. The ground it hits is scorched, burning enemies for damage over 6 seconds. Ray of Frost. Channel a beam of frost in a direction, continually dealing damage to all enemies caught in the beam and inflicting 12% chill for 1.5 to 4 seconds, stacking up to 6 times. Using Ray of Frost slowly consumes its energy, which recovers while Ray of Frost is not in use. Scorch. Launch a flaming orb that deals damage and knocks away enemies, leaving a burning trail that deals damage over 6 seconds. Teleport. Teleport forward. Maximum 3 charges. Slow time. Invoke a bubble of warped time and space for 6.6 seconds at a location, reducing the attack and movement speeds of affected enemies by 50% and slowing the movement of enemy projectiles by 80%. Alright, let's take a look at every legendary available in the game for Wizard. This section is for your reference to help you plan out your own builds. Let's get started. Vision of the Frozen Path. Scorch now launches a frozen orb that continually damages nearby enemies and chills them. Crown of Arcane Truths. Scorch now launches an arcane orb that explodes when activated again or when it expires, damaging all nearby enemies. Damage and explosion radius grow as it travels. Vitia's Resourceful Countenance. Scorch now launches an electrical orb that stops traveling when it strikes the first enemy, and then continually electrocutes and stuns nearby enemies. Cowl of the Abyss. Black hole radius increased by 20%. Memory of Xiaoyu. Scorch now conjures 4 flaming orbs that orbit around you and explode when they strike enemies, damaging and burning all nearby enemies. Mask of Illusions. Teleport now causes you to become invisible and leave behind a mirror image. Lion's Resonant Wisdom. Teleport now conjures a lightning cloud at your destination, dealing damage to all nearby enemies over 2.5 seconds. Angmar's Repulsive Burden. Scorch will now knock enemies away. Phoenix Mantle. Scorch radius increased by 20%. Shoulders of the Cataclysm. Meteor damage increased by 10%. Pads of Protection. Disintegrate now fractures into a short-ranged cone. Searing Judgment. Disintegrate now channels fire, burning enemies for additional damage over time. Arcane Intensifiers. Disintegrate will fire a stronger instantaneous beam after a short delay. Rime Mantle. Enemies killed by Ray of Frost will shatter, dealing damage to all nearby enemies and inflicting chill. Frost Reaver's Garments. Ice Crystal now summons a freezing crystal that inflicts greater damage over time and a stacking chill. Robes of the Avalanche. Ray of Frost now channels a blizzard around you, continually damaging and chilling nearby enemies. Zon Isu Elemental Weave. Lightning Nova now hurls balls of chilling ice. Elora's Fervor. Lightning Nova now hurls balls of burning fire. Regalia of the Archmage. Lightning Nova now hurls balls of immobilizing arcane energy. Starcaller's Drapery. Meteor radius increased by 20%. Kyne's Cryomantle. Ray of Frost now unleashes a stronger instantaneous beam after a short delay, damaging and freezing all enemies in its path. Galebringer's Leggings. Arcane Wind damage increased by 10%. Chaos Nexus. Disintegrate channels up to 3 additional beams at nearby enemies, each continually dealing damage. Starcaller's Breaches. Meteor now continually damages enemies in an area, but no longer stuns. Frostwalkers. Meteor now summons an icy meteor, dealing damage and covering the area with ice that deals additional damage and chills enemies. Rift Dancer's Stride. Teleport now targets a location where it also damages all nearby enemies. Time Warped Cloth. Teleport can now be recast, transporting you back to your original location. Cavil's Grand Revelation. Enemies killed by Disintegrate will explode, dealing damage to all nearby enemies. Entropic Edge. Disintegrate damage increased by 10%. Devastation. Arcane Wind now summons a tornado that damages enemies in a line. Also increases maximum Arcane Wind charges by 1. Wind Shaper. Arcane Wind now summons a tornado that follows enemies and continually damages all enemies in its path. Force of Harakas. Magic missile damage increased by 20%. Maelstrom Orb. Lightning Nova damage increased by 10%. Negation Blade. Black Hole also absorbs nearby enemy projectiles. Electrospike. Electrocute leaps to 3 additional enemies. Unrepentant Gale. Maximum Arcane Wind charges increased by 1. Azkalor's Fire. Scorch damage increased by 10%. The Siphon. Casting Lightning Nova temporarily increases your movement speed by 60%. Heart of the Storm. Ice Armor becomes Storm Armor, continually damaging nearby enemies. Winter's Eye. Ice armor no longer absorbs damage, instead conjuring an ice storm around you that continually damages and chills nearby enemies. Icon of Synchronicity. Ice armor now also grants damage absorption to your nearby allies. Devouring Void. Black Hole moves forward a short distance, pulling in and damaging enemies as it travels. Now that's it for this wizard guide for Diablo Immortal Season 1. Are you prepared for DI launch? What's your favorite wizard build? Tell me in the comments down below. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Peace!